Hey, how are you folks? Good to see you. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. As I said, it is good to see you and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am your Dungeon Delver, the host, and I hope you're doing really well this evening. And I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs to some folks who aren't feeling well. Aurora, please, I hope you feel better soon. And same goes to Todd. Todd, the cheerleader of our little merry band of misfits here, the cheerleader of the chat. I really hope you feel better soon, brother. But anyway, I hope the rest of you guys are doing good today. Welcome to the show. And if you're new here, if you don't know what this is that we do, you just clicked subscribe, not knowing what you were going to get into. This is a live stream. This is a tabletop role-playing game live stream that I do 5 nights a week. We talk about classic role-playing games. We play classic role-playing games. We have guests who've written and made art for classic role-playing games. We have little interstitial studio videos scattered through the week as news happens, and we report on it. Is what we do. And if you're just stopping by, if the algorithm kind of washed you up onto our shores and you haven't already, please click the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and know you this. This live stream is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures that they'd like to play, whether it's for Castles and Crusades, 5th edition, or the OSR. Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde Games, and you can find them on their website at hellebardegames.com or DriveThruRPG. And we love us some Hellebarde Games around here. They're awesome. So don't miss a chance to check them out. But anyway, I hope you guys, again, are all well. Now, Vaughn Gifford, right out of the gate, is asking the important questions that need to be asked. Vaughn says, to me, is referencing the Satanic Panic disrespectful? I don't believe YouTube algorithms understand the reference. They don't, and it isn't. I mean, because let's be 100% honest, regardless of where you fall in the realm of faith, and I'm not here to discuss that right now. We've had some pretty interesting discussions with Dungeon Minister on that very topic before, and hopefully we will again. But yes, saying the Satanic Panic is like saying the NASCAR race. It's like saying, the rocket space program. It's like saying the McDonald's hamburger. It was literally a moral panic that Dungeons and Dragons was a gateway to Satanism. Calling it the Satanic Panic doesn't rob it of its lunacy, or those of us who went through it of our agency. So call it whatever you want. Just don't say that it was our fault, right? So yeah, be comfortable in doing that. Zachary Melvin, a guy who possesses 2 awesome first names. That's what. Anybody walking around out there with the name of Bob Smith, that guy has 2 cool. That's why you didn't get a cool name, Bob Smith. Zachary Melvin has 2 cool names, and that's why. But anyway, so yeah, it doesn't confront me at all if you call it the Satanic Panic. But let's just recap some RPG news this weekend. Now, I started the weekend off, and I broke the news. Don't worry, I put it back together. I broke the news that a Wizards of the Coast artist had been using AI art in the upcoming Big B something or the other Giants book the Wizards of the Coast is putting out. And you can go check that video out on the channel. And of course, they said, oh, no, I didn't use AI. I used AI to touch the drawing up. Right. To which I say, why didn't you touch it up yourself? Now, this person has apparently been doing art for Wizards of the Coast since 2014. And, yeah, I think Wizards has got a hot potato on their hands. But what was more interesting was this person then deleted their tweets defending themselves. Somebody at Wizards of the Coast probably advised them to take that down. And then Wizards of the Coast issued an official statement and said, hey, whoa, we didn't know that this guy was using AI art. So, yeah, we're going to make a policy statement about that. And then they did. And they said, oh, we're not going to, but Wizards of the Coast, of course, being completely Janus-faced, talking out of both sides of their mouths. Wizards of the Coast is the same company that is embracing AI in the tabletop space. So, yeah, I broke that news on Saturday. And then it was kind of funny because on Sunday and today, I see a raft of videos come out about it. I was like, okay, it's flattering if it's true, but are you guys like watching my channel and you see stuff coming like, oh crap, let's go out and do, which it's fine. I don't, it's not like you said, you didn't do a sniper wolf reaction video like, oh, he reporting on AI or anything like that. It was actual videos that other people had made. But the important thing is that the word gets out there, okay? Because when Wizards of the Coast started pulling nonsense back in January, I mean, I didn't have like a phone tap on Kyle Brink's mobile to find out. I started seeing this stuff blow up on Twitter and on other websites. And like, if you go and you watch those videos, I'm reading Kotaku, I'm reading Twitter, so everybody's got sources. But it was interesting to see. I reported on it, and then here come like 5 or 6 more videos. It's probably what it is just we all hit it at the same time, right? We all kind of lunged forward to grab that brass ring. We all got our fingers on it. So whatever, good job, whole community. Good job, whole community. So that happened. And then as more details came out, I talked about it a little bit more today, and I talked about Wizards of the Coast statement back on the 1st of August where they were talking about, tabletop and AI. We bought a company. We're onboarding products, whatever the hell that means. So that's happening. Other news. And I'm giving you this recap in case you haven't gone through and you haven't watched the little interstitial videos. But I just dropped a video literally 5 minutes before I was rushing to get the notice up for the live video. But while I was sitting here working on it, at the same time, I was running back and forth between the editing PC and uploading a video about something positive and something wonderful this Thursday. Now, let me tell you, I know that some of our audience actually is within driving distance of beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. This Thursday, well, let's back up a second. On the 27th of July, Gary's birthday, of course, we were all here. I hope you were here. I hope you enjoyed the time with us. We had Heidi Gygax and Eric Garland, and Heidi invited Luke Gygax, and Heidi invited Alex Gygax, and Luke and his whole family were here. And that was very nice. But we had all those folks on. It was celebrating Gary's birthday. I would have had Paul Stormberg on. Paul was a little busy because Paul was, of course, dedicating the bench in Lake Geneva, the Gary Gygax bench in Lake Geneva. So that happened on the 27th. But as the man once said, you can't, you won't, and you don't stop. And the Gygax Memorial Fund, which, look, I'm going to say straight up, I was in with everybody else saying, that money is gone. This is never going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Gygax Memorial Fund has done struck again because they have got the Appendix N reading area as a permanent memorial for Gary in the Lake Geneva Public Library. It is a duplicate, a reproduction of Gary's chair he would sit at when he would work and read, the chair of reading, he called it. And there is a whole vast bookshelf of books. And let me see if I can share this picture. Let me do present. Let's see. Slides. Is it gonna add file from your computer? Upload file. Okay, I'm trying to get this here. Is it going to let me do this? Hey, Deadly Dungeon Master. Okay, it's not letting me do that for some reason. Invalid file type. How dare you, sir? How absolutely dare you? Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can bring this up, and I will share it with you guys. But this is the bookshelf, and I want to share this with you guys and see if it'll let me do this, because I didn't do this in the video. I was in such a manic hurry. It was ridiculous. You guys would have laughed at me trying to get a video uploaded, the title card made, and the video uploaded, and then turn around and get a title card and like spread it out on social media and everything else. But let me see if I can share screen. We're going to share a window. That's what we're going to do. Share. And now you guys can check this out. So we have, this is the Appendix N library at Lake Geneva Public Library. And all of these books, guys, this isn't just some roped off display like, oh, I guess those are the books Gary was inspired by. There's a chair there that you can sit at and you can read these books. You can sit down and you can read these books. So we have Gates of the Witch World by Andre Norton, Empires of the East by Fred Saberhagen, L. Sprague de Camp and Fletcher Pratt. Fritz Leiber, of course you got to have some Fritz Leiber there. Some HPL, Poul Anderson, A. Merritt. The Metal Monsters by A. Merritt. What else do we have there? The King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany, which if you haven't read that, I do recommend. World of Tears by Philip Jose Farmer. One of the original, what is it the kids call it, Isekai books. Three Hearts and Three Lions by Poul Anderson, Escape on Venus by Edgar Rice Burroughs, Pirates of Venus by ERB, The Face and the Frost by Bellairs, Carson of Venus, again, more ERB, Lost on Venus, John Carter of Mars, Conan, HPL, The Face in the Abyss, more A. Merritt, some Andre Norton down here, another copy of Spell of the Witch World. It's just a huge selection. And this is the one time, guys, when I will say to the dilettantes who spent like 2007 to, I don't know, 2014, tramping around saying, if you haven't read Appendix N, you're not really D&Ding and you must read all these books, I'll say, fine. That's a good place to start. So there's really great books up there. And if you can be in Lake Geneva for the dedication, or even if you can't, if you go to Gary Con, if Luke does another fall revel kind of thing where you can go up there and go to a smaller con, definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. And like I said, I've got a short video on it, which you guys would have laughed. Like if you had been a fly on the wall, you would have laughed, because I completely screwed up my OBS studio to try and get everything in order. This is something that I should have spent like an hour setting up, and I did it in like 5 minutes. I'm not proud of that fact. It just is. But so I'm just happy that I was able to get that news to you guys, some RPG news for you guys, because it's what I like to do. And I think that's everything. Yep, that's everything. But anyway, so that's the RPG news that has passed between last week and this week. There was one thing. I don't think this constitutes news by any stretch of the imagination, like to the point I'm not going to talk about the person's name or anything. It just struck me funny. It was just something that struck me funny. And someone on Twitter, it's one of those things, like if you're on RPG Twitter, you're going to see stuff like, somebody's like, my half-black pudding tiefling drow warforged warlock sorcerer sorlock fey-stepping eladrin gunslinger alchemist blah 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 is level 91, and we just played Curse of Strahd's underwear drawer, and and you're just like, my character's name is John, he's a fighter, he's human, but there's places where there's a Venn diagram overlap. And so I saw something, and I was like, huh? It's one of those things that, like, you ever see a Maizen scene or a random dot stereogram, or one of the, like that thing, it's like the 3 dowels, but it looks like 2, but it's actually 3, but it's not optical illusion stuff. You just kind of look at it and you're like, huh? What am I even seeing here? And in this case, that's a good question, Vaughn. I'm going to come back to you. In fact, I'm going to mark that so I can come back to you, Vaughn. So someone was crowing about the fact that their paladin character was officially the person who invented the deck of many things, and they were over the moon because that was going to be announced in a Wizards of the Coast book at Gen Con, which was this past weekend, I guess. And man, I just couldn't get my head around that. And I just copied and pasted the Deck of Many Things pages out of the Dungeon Master's Guide and just put it up in the many messages that were underneath that. I'm like, this is the Deck of Many Things. This is Gary guy. Your character had nothing to do with this. Like, it existed in Greyhawk lore, and of course other campaigns that co-opted the cool stuff out of Greyhawk lore, as TSR published other settings: Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Birthright, Mastika, Karatur, Al-Qadim, Mystara, I think that's got them all. I think that's got them all. But, you know, I was, it just struck me funny. And more the important part is I just felt on the face of it, it was such a ridiculous thing. Like, and I even posted up because someone was talking about Bigby. Like, I copied the page out of the Rogues Gallery. Now, Gary has said unequivocally that the Bigby and the Mordenkainen and Rigby and I want to say there's one or two other of his characters in Rogues Galleries. Like Brian Bloom, who put that thing together, didn't have access to Gary's character sheets for those characters. He just named them and kind of rattled off a few adventures in the backstory that he could remember, and then they got published. But he was adamant that those were not his. They were not his characters. As they appear. If you want Mordenkainen's character sheet, for example, get a copy of Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure, written by Rob Kuntz, which Rob ran Mordenkainen through. But it just kind of struck me in a larger pop culture sense, the co-opting of the great things of I get it, you know, but it's the retconning, it's the back mining that destroy, you know. It's like in the timeline, the past is now, but we're going back now in the future. We're going to before then, even though then was then, or even though now was then. We're going and we're gonna dig away from behind those things so that everyone's perception of those things is completely different because we've changed the backstory. Because you didn't already create a backstory, or even if you did, we're going to destroy that backstory. And just, you know, it's like there's a Marvel Comics thing, like Tony Stark, Iron Man. Tony ever only trusted one person other than himself in the comic books to have access to the Iron Man armor. He wouldn't give it to S.H.I.E.L.D. He wouldn't give it to the Avengers, any of the other Avengers, wouldn't give it to the Fantastic Four, wouldn't give it to, certainly wouldn't give it to the X-Men. The Eternals, none of them. One person. And that was Rhodey. And the Demon in a Bottle, the 3 or 4 issue arc, when Tony's drinking got out of control, somebody else had to be Iron Man. And they kind of touched on it a little bit in the Iron Man movies, which were pretty good. In the comics, recently, Tony just turned over everything lock, stock, and barrel to a young woman who stole and destroyed his most recent set of power armor when she was going out on a revenge thing. Like in the process of using it, she broke it irreparably. Why do so-called creators have to do that? Like, could you not have just written that this young lady was also gifted and also invented her own powered armor? And Tony was like, nice suit. You know? I literally don't understand. And it's not just about Iron Man. It's about everything. Yeah, I was never a fan of Star Trek The Next Generation. There, I said it. Shame on me. I was never a fan. But at least in the, I don't know, let's see, Bones was in a cameo. in the very first episode. Sulu was in an episode of V'ger. Scotty was in an episode of TNG. Of course, you had Trials and Tribulations and so on. Those were loving tributes, all right? They didn't say, okay, let's go back and establish that, Jim Kirk was this kind of a horrible person. And they kind of did with a time travel episode where I'm trying to think. I can picture the actor in my mind's eye, but he's from the Federation Bureau of Time Investigation or something like that. And he refers to Jim Kirk as a menace and says he's got 12 temporal violations, which if you do the math, like all the times Kirk traveled time, he does. But it's like you couldn't make a Star Wars sequel trilogy that just went out and did its own thing. Kill Luke Skywalker, piss on the legacy of the Jedi. You just make Luke into a miserable old son of a bitch instead of the hero we grew up with as kids. Kill Han Solo. And they're even going back and retconning Han. Like, the comic after Star Wars, like literally a day after Star Wars, they show Han as just blasting off, going off to do his own thing. I guess we're supposed to assume he comes back at some point to the Rebel Alliance, despite the fact that in Empire, in literally opening parts of Empire, they flat out say he's been with them since the Battle of the Death Star. And the first thing he does is he goes into a bar and throws his Alliance medal on the counter and says, "Bartender, as many as that'll buy." I mean, how creatively bankrupt must you be? How utterly creatively bankrupt and void of imagination must you be that your first impulse is not to create a future for yourselves, but to destroy what other people enjoyed? Look, let me tell you something. I don't like Forgotten Realms. I don't like Dragonlance. I don't like Mystara. I don't particularly care for Birthright. Any of them. I'm a Greyhawk guy, through and through. In all of my self-published efforts, jokes about Kender aside, I have never said, I'm going to publish a Dragonlance module where the world Dragonlance gets blown up. I'm going to read up on these characters and I'm going to have them behave in ways that just doesn't even make sense. Just because I can. And it's why I tell people whenever I hear anyone say, man, I wish we could get a Greyhawk for 5e. No, you don't. You shut your mouth. You keep it shut. You don't want that. I've seen what Wizards of the Coast does to campaign settings. You don't want it. You don't want it at all. Anyway, I want to answer a question here because it's been sitting in the file. Vaughn asks, do I believe, here, I'll put it up on the screen. Do I believe artists should be compensated if their artwork is used by AI? Absolutely. Unquestionably. Flint Fireforge, greetings. And I get it. You believe me, I understand. Like I've said before, one of my best friends in the world, Eric Peterson, God rest his soul, his DM was Tracy Hickman. And Eric told me flat out Tracy was a hardcore ball-breaking Greyhawk style DM. All right? And I believe it. And I just, you are creatively bankrupt. You are a poor writer or artist or filmmaker if to establish yourself right out of the gate you destroy the foundations of the thing that you claim to be standing on and honoring. It's terrible for you, the non-creative garbage that you might be. Not you guys, like I'm not taught. You know what I'm saying? So, it just kind of baffles me when I see people crowing about these things that they've gotten. One of the worst deconstructions, and I've said this before. We've all seen pictures of Mordenkainen. All right. He looks like Gary. Well, when Wizards of the Coast took over, that bald looking, I don't know, Anton Sandor LaVey looking dildo with ears that they got from Mordenkainen now, no, I'm sorry, that's not Mordenkainen. I know who it's supposed to be based on. Well, it's Sean K. Reynolds. Fuck it. He's not going to watch this. And none of you guys are going to run off and tell him. All right. He Mary sued himself as Mordenkainen. Or one of the artists did. Maybe he had nothing to do with it. Maybe he said, please don't do that. Oh, nope, too late. I'll take a Sharpie marker and color hair onto the plastic Mordenkainen mini I got in my DDM box over here. But it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Gary warned TSR that by doing what they were planning on doing, by firing the AD&D fan base the way that they were going to, that they'd lose half their fans initially. And you know what? No offense, guys, but second edition sold about half of what first edition AD&D did. At least initially. I am sure over its 89 to 99 run, it probably picked right back up. But I mean, for all their flaws, at the time, the Blooms were perfectly okay, probably with many protestations from Gary to goad them along. The TSR was one big happy fleet. You had basic, you had... Now look what we got here tonight. We got basic alongside Holmes Introductory. We got Advanced Dungeons and Dragons right next to Moldvay Basic. We got original D&D and chainmail still being sold at the Dungeon Hobby Shop. And that is a miracle. And that's how it ought to be, brothers. Miracles can happen. Can you dig it? And it didn't destroy the company. They kept all their fans happy. Dungeon and Fantasy Forest. Fight in the Skies and Snit Smasher. Chainmail and Swords and Spells. They were a games company. Basic Dungeons and Dragons is a game. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is a game. Introductory Dungeons and Dragons is a game. They sold them all, and people were very happy, and they didn't fire any of their fans to get there. How did it come to this? How did it come to kill the past, destroy it if you have to? How did we get to a place Slade Wilson knows what I'm talking about. How did we get to that place? So I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe ultimately I'm just old man yelling at cloud. I think there may be some truth to what you're saying there, Magnificent Devil. I do. And I mean, I hope you guys like. Let me just make something perfectly clear. Somebody up there mentioned who was that? I want to get this right. Clark Whitten. I'm putting you on the spot. Clark Whitten said, I should have put it on the screen while I was putting him on the spot. Clark Whitten says, I started playing 5e in 2014, and here I am and proud of it. Look, love whatever D&D you love. Embrace it. Enjoy it. Have fun playing it. But for Pete's sake, you don't have to destroy old versions of D&D to be on top. Wizards of the Coast have got this, and their creators have this god-awful, bizarre idea that only tiny little bits of the past can be preserved. Like, you know, you get stuff like this, which I'll admit this is neat. This is, you know, I thought that was pretty cool. That was worth spending $20 on. You know, you got the Art and Arcana set. But if something hit people in their 50s who first played OD&D and AD&D in the 70s and 80s, and we all just passed away, you don't think Wizards of the Coast would just push a button the next day and delete on all that stuff from 3rd edition on back that they have for sale. They hate it. You know, they got a brown paper bag around it. They got a safety tape around it. And no, you're right, Magnificent Devil. This is just where I am. This is just the place I'm at. It isn't just WotC. It is all media. Absolutely. But you know, you don't you don't have to fire your customers. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to do this. And I really wish you wouldn't. And Slade, you know, you're right. It's a good thing that they made it available. It's better than it was before. It's absolutely better than it was before. I mean, when we had Steven from Gripnir Games was on a few months ago. I'll say a few months ago. Gosh, I guess it's probably around. It was after Christmas. It was like early March when Steven and I talked. But and he talked about what made Wizards of the Coast delete on the PDF sales. It was that he explained it to me. There were people, you could basically have your own library on Wizards of the Coast, and then you could share stuff out of your folders with other people. And so people were sharing things that didn't exist in PDF form. And so Wizards of the Coast decided to make everyone into pirates. And Stephen went to them and he said, don't do this. You're just going to make everyone into pirates. And their response was, you're not seeing the bigger picture. And his response to that was, why don't you make all the old D&D stuff free? Just make it free. Just give it away. If it has no value to you, just give it away. And their response again was, you're just not seeing the bigger picture. And that's where we find ourselves today, folks. That's where we find ourselves today. Dungeons and Dragons is in the hands of madmen. It's in the hands of people who want to reduce D&D down to... you don't think that Wizards of the Coast hasn't looked envious at Diablo 4, I think that just came out. 3 or 4. Which Diablo just came out? And said, God, I wish we had that money. Oh, we'd burn every classic D&D book we could get our hands on if we could get that. And you know they would. And so that's what they drive towards, and that's what they're driving towards. And if in doing so, they have to plow up the ancient vineyards that created the Deck of Many Things, that created Bigby, Mordenkainen, Greyhawk, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Mystara, all those things and more, they'll do it. And I know it's very popular and it's very hip to blame this on a purely social agenda, but I'm here to tell you folks, now that this is in the hands of Hasbro, and it has been for almost 20 years now, probably more than 20. I'm not exact. Somebody want to look up and see when Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast. But now they don't worship diversity and inclusion. They don't care who you voted for. Oh, that block makes a very nice shield for them, and it's very nice for them to shill to. That's it. That's all. And you can argue back with me, well, didn't Gary want D&D to be big? Didn't he want it to be a commercial success? Of course he did. Of course he did. And until the day they threw him out of TSR by being the ignoramuses that they were, by giving him no alternative but to turn and walk away, Gary spent his time in his office creating. I don't think Cynthia Williams or Kyle Brink or that one D-bag, what's his name, who, says he's never played D&D and he's proud of it, but he gets D&D because he's heard of it, that came over from Microsoft. I don't think they've put pen to paper once in a creative endeavor towards Dungeons and Dragons. That's who it's in the hands of. When the two people driving the company came from Microsoft's Xbox division, where do you think we're headed? And that folds right back in, guys. That folds right back in with the AI nonsense. An acceptable amount of fallible errors by an AI DM is vastly preferable to them than someone who has the gift of gab and can run a halfway decent game. Because to get that AI, you'll have to pay for it. And if they can convince all of their D&D players that a human dungeon master sucks and an AI DM is the bestest, well, that's good too, I'm sure they think. And I'm going to tell you something. This is not me just... I'm not just being foil hat. I'm not just being Alex Jones. I tried to warn you people. They're going to unleash the robots. It's going to destroy Dungeons and Dragons. And I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. Well, you're listening now. You're listening now, people. The only thing that could stop them is be creative and play old Dungeons and Dragons. CY 579 will commence again if they come for our D&D books. Old D&D and colloidal silver, that's it. Buy gold. But no, I want to... Let me see if I can find this. They're putting something in the healing potions that's making the orcs gay. See, my numbers are spiking up when I when I do the Alex Jones. No, this is, and I linked to this in my second AI video that I did today. But I'm going to read this to you guys. You know what? I'll share it. Share screen, window, share. Okay. An interview with Hasbro Gaming Senior Vice President Adam Beal sheds some evasive clarity on what that means. Our approach here is to thoughtfully add multimedia content and digital capabilities to enrich storytelling, game mechanics, and player onboarding while preserving what people value in board games: face-to-face interaction and the satisfying tactility of rolling dice and moving physical components. We plan to use AI and other software capabilities to create dynamic experiences that instantly react to player decisions and rules resolution without the complexity of lengthy instructions. Romney Peterson, you are obsolete. The state has decided you, Dungeon Master, are obsolete. Fritz Weaver. And then a very great episode of The Twilight Zone, The Obsolete Man. It was a warning, not an instruction manual. Your storytelling capabilities, your ability to understand the nuance of a rule, that isn't needed. Why would you need a person for that? Just shut up and roll dice and move your miniatures TM around your battle mat TM and roll your official TM, dungeon TM, and ampersand TM, dragons ampersand TM, dice TM. Copyright. Trademark reserved. And can you believe this crap? I mean, this is right down there with self-driving cars. Don't think. Don't be creative. For God's sake, don't go where you want and don't do what you want. Shut the fuck up and let the computers do all the thinking for you. That's what's necessary. This is some Fahrenheit 451 stuff, which, by the way, I know a lot of people think Fahrenheit 451 is about censorship of books. It's not. It's about the encroaching of technology. And that's from Ray. That's not like my weirdo interpretation. That's what Ray Bradbury said about it. Oh, yeah, insert micropayment to continue. Slade Wilson, you ought to read Fahrenheit 451. It'll shake your worldview. It will shake your worldview. But guys, you know, I gotta say, I gotta be positive. We gotta step back and we gotta talk about the positivity. I mean, there's a whole town in Lake Geneva. There's a whole town in Wisconsin, rather, called Lake Geneva that's never going to forget Gary, and they're never going to forget what Gary brought, what he created for us when he created Dungeons and Dragons. And we shouldn't either. You know, if somebody says, hey, I want to play 5e, that's fine. Pencil, paper, dice, friends, snacks, rule books, in that order. The Real Vector knows what Fahrenheit 451 is really about. Subscribe now. Thank you, Real Vector. I appreciate it. Celebrate by supporting us on Patreon. It's nice if you do that. Which, by the way, some of you might not know. Many of you do know, and I appreciate the ones who have. We have like 10 members on YouTube now. Members, yes, we have 10 YouTube members now. That attack was too slow, no better than that of a clumsy child. Comrades, today we sail into history. No, we have 10. Is it 10? I'll have to go back and look. But we have many members. Would you like to see them? Would you like to see our members? Say yes. Yes, if you'd like to support the channel with a membership, you can support us at the veteran level for as little as $1.99 a month. You can support us at the veteran level over on Patreon. That's right down there. As you can see it scrolling by. Slade Wilson has become a new member. Slade, welcome. Welcome, my friend. Range to target, Mr. Slade. 1 ping only. Thank you. Welcome, Slade. We have 11 now. Yeah, I know, Magnificent Devil. I know. I just got to keep my head down. If that's mean. If someone tells me they want to play 5e, I'll point them into the wood chipper. They'll have more fun with it than talking to me. I hope L just means he'll make them do yard work. They'll appreciate being outdoors and doing yard work, and then they'll come back in and say, okay, I'm ready to play classic. I know that's what you meant, L. I know that's what you meant. Clark, I'm not saying that. Slade. Do you see the beast, Money Penny? I have him in my sights. You know, it was Train Spotting where I started doing a good Connery. Just from that little bit. How is the planet Zeist? It's always too soon to reference the terrible Highlander 2. Although the Renegade cut is awful, but it's just awful in the realms of being just an unnecessary sequel that's poorly done. It's not awful in the unbelievable grandeur of awful that is Highlander 2, The Sickening. The Wonderful Wizard of Games. 24. Started with AD&D through your dad. It's your preferred edition. Welcome, Wonderful Wizard of Games. Highlander. There should have been only one. Is my best Christopher Lambert. Sorry. Innocent kids are playing 5e. Michael Connor, hail, unbreaded. Good to see you, my friend. I'm going to go as long as I can, but listen, I got AD&D at 10 o'clock. I got it not live streamed. I know a lot of you guys are like, woohoo, we're going to watch some AD&D. That's tomorrow night. So if you're new, if you're subscribed, tomorrow night, a little bit of preamble ramble, assuming I haven't run myself ragged and don't just start up and jump straight into the game. We will be playing first edition AD&D tomorrow night at 8:30. We'll go like 8:30 to 10:30, and or 9 to 11. I'm not sure which. We'll probably kick the show off at 8:30 and then start the AD&D at 11. And yes, I play without you, Slade. Subscriber Slade. By the way, you might be wondering, speaking of subscriptions, speaking of Patreon, I'm very dry. The Connery is running out. No, it's not a TV show, Wonderful Wizard of Games. It's a movie. It's a movie that came out in 83 or 84. Possibly 85. I'm not sure. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. If you do choose to support the show on Patreon at the $10 level or the matching level over on YouTube, you will receive every month a short Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition adventure module. That's right, penned by yours truly or by my co-host Kyle. You will receive a short adventure module. We lay them out. We format them like classic D&D modules in PDF form. You will get that, and it's a brief adventure, maybe a dungeon crawl, maybe an adventure in a town, maybe under the sea, maybe on another plane. Who knows? You can never tell. But that's at the $10 and up backer level is what you get if you join us on YouTube memberships at the $10 level or Patreon at the $10 level. So I hope you will consider doing that. I think I'm a pretty good writer. Gary Gygax thought I was a pretty good writer. Lots of other people think I'm a pretty good writer. So, oh, Slade. Any interest in doing a dive on Cairn, the RPG system? Never heard of it. So I don't know. Somebody'd have to send me a copy and I'd have to decide if it's appropriate. Orbital Air, you order me have stick? You not get me have stick? Oh dear. That right. 3 people order me have stick. Me have to mail out me have stick to 3 people. Me feel bad. Me not try rip off Orbital Air. Me send me have stick to Orbital Air. Lux Armok, greetings. Can I just say of usernames, Lux Armok is pretty cool. Wave of Mutilation want me have stick merch. I gotta get, okay, so I have a guy, I have an illustrator that's going to be doing merch with me, and I gotta get with him about that. I want that. I was gonna have had merch already. I was gonna have had merch. You know what? There's a piece of merch that I can make that I think I probably will. So you guys keep your eyes peeled for it. You guys keep your eyes peeled for it. I'm gonna make it. It's jokey merch, okay? The really cool merch when I get my illustrator's ass in gear. Jorge Uribe, good to see you. Have I ever played superhero role-playing games? Absolutely, AI merch. Yeah, just have an AI make my merch for me. Just have I ever played superhero role-playing games? Absolutely, I certainly have. I have played Hero System since 1989, off and on. I love Hero System. I really do. It is the best superhero role-playing game. Build anything you want, do anything you want, and I would absolutely not recommend it to anyone. It's awful. I know that sounds extremely broken-brained, but man, is it a hot mess. It is. Okay, let me explain something to you. Let's say you have a power. Now, if you know the answer to this, don't say it. Anyone who doesn't know Hero System, I want you to chime in. If you do know Hero System, don't say this. Powers have limitations and they have multipliers. And powers cost points. Now, I want to ask you, if you've never played Hero System or even read the books, if I have a power, let's say it's a Zappo beam that I can just point and go Zappo, and I put a limitation on it. Let's say the limitation is I can only use it in direct sunlight. It's a solar Zappo beam. And per the rule book, that's a half limitation. It's a 10-point power. It has a half limitation. How many points does Zappo cost with a half limitation on it? I want to see if anyone has got that. I want to see if anyone's got that. That's awesome, Real Vector. I'm so glad you subscribed. I'm so glad we have a new we have a new member. I just want to see if anybody knows. With a half limitation. Flint Fireforge said it realistically, gave a realistic answer, and logically that would make sense, right? I was just getting my head around fractions. I'm a slow math learner. When I was 11, 12 and played Hero System, and it frustrated me to tears because, again, Flint, a half limitation on a 10-point power makes the power cost 5 points, right? Wrong. A half limitation makes the power cost 7 points. The wonderful world of Hero System math is completely screwed in the head. Don't even get me started on multipliers. Because you might think, well, it's a half multiplier on that. That would make the power cost 15 points. Nope. 17. It has never, ever, 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 ever made sense why they have the limitations and multiplier charts like that. Just don't even try to do the math in your head. After I gave up, again, I was 10 or 11 years old, gave up in tears trying to make my character in Hero System because, oh, well, that's a half limitation. Cool. 1/2 times 10, that's 5. Nope. Just look at the table. Just look like, okay, only works in sun power. That's an environmental limitation. Let me okay, that's a half, go down. Oh, so that would cost 10. Don't try and figure it out with math because Hero System throws around fractions and whole numbers and decimals like they're fucking meaningless. Like they have no actual real world connection to anything. And inside Hero System, they don't. That's what I mean when I say Hero System is the literal worst. I love it. I have played it since I played it a little bit in the early 80s. I played it, but I got serious about playing it in 89, which means I've been playing it for 33 years now. 89, 99. So it's 99, 2009, 2019. Yeah. 34 years. I've had a working knowledge of Hero System. I still can't build my characters correctly. I have a character builder program on my PC on the rare occasion that I get into a Hero System game with my friends now. Hero System, you got a lot of splaining to do. As a Champions Game Master, I would have awarded that limitation a -1 1/4. Thank you, Wave. Thank you. Mutants and Mastermind. So Mutants and Mastermind was the D20 based superhero game. Early Mutants and Mastermind, I actually could appreciate. I kind of liked the universality of Mutants and Mastermind because in Mutants and Mastermind, you could essentially take an OD&D character and run them in a Mutants and Mastermind game. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma. You'd have to bolt a whole bunch of powers onto them, but you could do it. And I can kind of appreciate that. So, do the superhero system have it? Absolutely. Grenadier. We were talking about Grenadier. Paint Minis Live and I were last night. Grenadier did a whole line of Marvel superhero miniatures for Hero Games. Later, Iron Crown. In fact, I have an unpainted Doctor Strange over there that I'm going to paint up for somebody. Once or twice, Vaughn. Not enough to say conclusively that I loved it or hated it. Now, I'll tell you this, PML. I'll tell you this. I have played D6 Star Wars, West End Games, D6 Star Wars, big giant fistfuls of D6s for everything. And we did use Star Wars figures for it. And that was not that long ago. I don't know, 10, 11 years ago, maybe, that we did that. And it was loads of fun. And then when HeroClix came out, it was like, I want a Spider-Man mini. Go to the comic book store. $5 later, you got Spider-Man, right? You can pop them off the bases. Have to paint that Doctor Strange mini while listening to Pink Floyd? Yeah, probably. Let me see if I can find this real quick, and I'll show it to you guys. We're coming up because, like I said, oh yeah, I got like 5 minutes, guys, and then we're gonna have to wrap. I don't know if you guys got a good look at that. But yeah, that was what it looks like. Man, it has been a lot of fun tonight. It has been a whole lot of fun. I'm so glad that that we picked up a subscriber tonight, Collecting Chaos. Hello, good to see you. You're probably on earlier. Who was it? Real Vector. Thank you for subscribing tonight. Thank you for the membership, Schlade. So I really do appreciate it. And again, if you guys want to support the show, you can join us on Patreon. You can become a YouTube member. But if you haven't clicked subscribe, please do click the subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications. We greatly appreciate that. Saucer Full of Secrets is a direct copy of a Steve Ditko drawing. You rolled in from Twitter. Well, I'm glad you rolled in from Twitter. See, RPG Twitter is mostly fun. I like RPG Twitter. Star Frontiers is a good game. We'll do a deep dive on Star Frontiers here before too much longer. Probably before the holidays. I got a lot of stuff. I owe you guys a deep dive of Cyberpunk character creation, so we're going to be doing that on Thursday. We're going to be creating a Cyberpunk 2020 character on Thursday. Tomorrow night, we will be playing first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for your entertainment and education. So if you've never played AD&D and you want to see how it works, by all means, stop by, watch us. I get it. Not a lot of people like to watch people play role-playing games or listen to people play role-playing games. But one thing I can tell you unequivocally is that we don't script things. I don't go to my players offline and say, okay, we really want to get the audience hyped up behind it. Look, the game plays as you see it. My script is the module and the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide and Monster Manual. And that's as far as that goes. But AD&D tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Kyle is here. Thursday night, Cyberpunk 2020 Chumer. Friday night, first edition Gamma World. So until then, guys, thank you all for being here tonight. We had a good crowd tonight. There were 41 of you at peak, and that was kind of awesome. Now, if you're not trashed a lot of good RPGs, yes, I did, Slade. If you're not familiar with what we do around here, it is traditional, particularly you guys that stop by. you need to go out there. You need to get your stick and your sack, and you need to hunt around, because we're missing something very important. And so, guys, I conclude this show, as I have concluded them all before, with the eternal question: have you seen my owl bear?
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.